This is how you do it, you know. Because if I look at this way, then if you do it this way. That's very nice to hear the bell sound. Because there's Kaju Melam, they always match your prostration with the bell. So you're kind of matched. Like we did before, that first meditate on compassion. This morning and afternoon session is for the benefit of all sentient beings to achieve enlightenment. Therefore, we are doing this teaching and question and answer session or afternoon practice. May all sentient beings free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May all beings experience happiness and the cause of happiness. And then ultimate bodhicitta, we rest in directly in whatever feeling you are experiencing. Resting basically means pretty much freezing in the presence of your mind. This very moment, this very presence, this very seat, resting in nowness, and now, in this present. And now, in order to experience or master with compassion bodhicitta, we will be, Guru is root Guru and lineage masters are the source of all the qualities, and we will be supplicating by chanting the short Vajra prayer. Seven brain prayer, mandala offering, and request to teach. O zon zawa don je je java don je se yero ge yen so gewa chungzi da ge je sa ba tang je da chang je je ngo wo sa je pu chu zo me to tam re ra len Jimbande Sanje Shendu Mede Pawai Doga Nandai Shenla Jebra Jo Senje Namje Samba Loye Jeda Jeda Wara Jechon Temon Deba Chuje Golo Godo Jizu Jinko Nomba Jawa Nanga Daye Mejeje Jijan Jawa Deme Langan Jambe Yang Sobana Bade Dewa Jeje Jeje Lo Janko Lo Dente Yang Jemba Kone Momba Jento Yaje Zobo Te Lando Jizaga Shira Janko Jen Zebe Tanda Zala Lamba Java Demba Gane Zanziba Gajirumbo Jala Jaji Yende Sanje Gantonyana Kade Sanje Gale La Benga Banga Zawe Lama Rumboje Dazo Drove Lana Jula Chanje Sanjon Joan Chenje Janjo Zebo Mebe Ya Chimeng Bradewa Ma Libranzama Jimden Yijin Golo Jala Tanza Logo Namjela Nameba Yandaba, the Bozon de Jacob, Bajala, Jenna Manza, the Vegeta Lamba Junior Second. Sinde Donya Ziba, Jawan, but Namba Zonju, the Dojiba and Body, Salan, and Zamba, Della, Consan Baza, Ju. So I had very good sleep, but I'm still a little bit moody because I walk in on the street. Now the name is Moody Street. Interesting name. Portsmouth, I thought it's Port Smith. Like Portsmouth, what does that mean? Get to a nice walk and get to the ocean and send some blessing pills in the ocean. Then I saw a gentleman was walking with dogs and dog was freezing, like, not moving. Why? Because he or she sees a groundhog walking around, and the groundhog doesn't see the dog. That dog has leashes, so the gentleman says he won't bite it. And then I happened to be there, so we were both laughing, the groundhog, the Lama, all came together. So yesterday we did go through the visualization of Ayatara, White Tara, and although the commentary have a lot of other explanations, some of them kind of practiced like when you really do like a retreat matter. But there's so there when you practice like a generation stage, there are many ways to practice and definitions, and there's one explanation about the four elements in Tibetan La Tong, Nga Tong, Saja Tong, Tinginzing, which means the first La means deity. Either you are, in this case, you are visualizing yourself as a deity. That is the important part of visualizing oneself as deity. And second is mantra. Not only you are reciting the deity, but also you recite the mantra, both the essence and the seed syllable mantra. And then third is the mudra. When you do White Tara practice or other practice, there are a lot of mudras involved, and because mudra is also expression of kind of invoking or making offerings and dissolution, and so mudra is necessary. And so when you, I think the mudras, there, when you do mudras, it's not like, I tend to learn, sometimes notice that, you get to a point, then you don't want to try too hard because, it's a little bit hard, but mudra is extremely important because it's any gesture you make, to people, whether it's you might say have a seat, or you say come here, or if you say have the wrong gestures, make people upset. So, so that's why the mudras, like either it's like a, or sitting mudra, and so mudra is necessary. And when you do the mudras, you are still visualizing as White Tara, and you are kind of expression of wisdom of White Tara through gestures. And then lastly, samadhi. Samadhi is extremely important. And when you do meditation, some people say it's a kind of a little bit of distraction when you practice deities because there are so many things going on. But in the tantric practice, highest shamatha meditation, of course, doing the sutric tradition shamatha meditation, be still and focus on object or focus on breathing exercise or focus on thoughts, whatever you focus, it's has a lot of benefit. But it is says tsinchi thing in Tibetan term, which means the shamatha meditation that has elaboration of visualization, focusing on deities, visualizing the palace and everything. That is the highest shamatha meditation. So it is not like there are so many things to it. It's a distraction. So basically, what's happening is that all those distractions that is so meaningless transformed into pureness. Because later on you're gonna see why we visualize, White Tara has like 7 eyes, or why is that, and why we visualize White Tara in white color, etc. All of this are not artistic or like something created such, culture or such, but it is so manifestation of overcoming negative emotions and transform into wisdom. And with that, as I mentioned, there's mantra visualization, many aspects, and can be too much, especially if you are doing like month-long White Tara practice, and then you should really sit down with someone personally and receive those teachings, because if I go through all of this, it can be very confusing. So what I'm going to focus today is what we visualized White Tara herself, and why these ornaments, and why it's what does this represent. And so first, there are also aspects of generation stage, using another three aspects. One is we call satin tasam in Tibetan. Sal means clarity, as clear as you can when you visualize, details about her feature, her complexion, and her gazes, all the ornaments, as detailed as you can. As I mentioned, it's also a form of shamatha meditation, and one of the best way to get the accumulation of merit, because every practice we do is, comes down to gathering accumulation of merit and gathering accumulation of wisdom, and through generation stage, making offerings, inviting deity, and all of this part of the accumulation of merit. And then once you dissolve, that is the accumulation of wisdom. And so these three elements that you also apply, which is very useful during the pujas, not like individual retreat. You may need more visualizations, but doing like together practice, so this could be very useful practice. So once the clarity and you take every feature seriously and as detailed as you can, and that as clear as you can. And then the second is stability. It's not like you just visualize white Tara and then disappears immediately. If you visualize a syllable thumb and then it disappears, or thumb's just shaking, and sometimes so we have anxieties sometimes. Oh, I can't visualize. That's the one thing that people we kind of insert something like, or it's very hard to visualize. So when you think that way, as Buddha says, what you think, that's how you become. And sometimes we think, oh, I don't think he or she likes me, but you have no clue. That's your assumption. And based on that assumption, then every gesture that person makes feels like, doing something towards you, It could be someone is laughing. Why? I feel like he or she is laughing at me, because you have that assumption. Doesn't have the clue. So likewise, when you say, "Oh, I can't visualize," and then you really can't visualize, because that's your mind can making decisions. Oh, visualization is so hard. But at the same time, we constantly visualizing whole day. Just so many distractions, especially someone you don't like or someone you like too much. They just always comes in your mind. It's become very spontaneous. You don't really say, it's hard to remember. And likewise, so we shouldn't think about, oh, I can't meditation, and we can, but also doesn't have to be like, oh, I can practice, I can visualize, not like a kind of pride or arrogance form. So it has to be very natural. And as long as you open your mind, just like when the reflection of moon arises in the sky, naturally reflects on in a ocean or ponds or little water or whatever, and it's the nature. So especially these deities, when we visualize, the moment we visualize, they are already there. So inviting wisdom deity dissolution is making us kind of bring more conviction. And Khenpo Rinpoche used a knowledge about visualization and inviting deities. His knowledge was so installation of electricity is the samaya deity. You visualize deity yourself as a visualization or front visualization, or and you are kind of installing the light bulbs and all the wires, everything. And then wisdom deity is like turn it on, and the light is on. So That's the wisdom deity. When you invite, dissolve. Why we need this process is because we are beginners. Sometimes, like, we need this process. Otherwise, like, the moment you think, moment you visualize, as it mentioned in the teachings that Buddha and Bodhisattva, they appear right away because they are like space. They are always as long as you open your mind, as long as there's water, then the reflection, it naturally happens. It's not necessarily has to put special intention in the deity's thing that, oh, someone is calling me, I better go there. No, it is the aspiration that, spontaneously arise. And so stability comes through conviction because the deities, the moment you visualize, they arise. Because if you only focus on clarity, and then you are so much focused on the artificial, artistic image rather than, the believing in the deity or believing in Buddha's Bodhisattva wisdom. And I think you heard of this many, many times, and it is something I think good and knowledge and story about, this Matthiya Buddha the Asanga was practicing Matthiya Buddha, and he meditated on Matthiya Buddha for 3 years, and there was no signs, nothing, and he was really worn out, like, oh, I can't accomplish Matthiya Buddha, because Asanga was very devoted to Matthiya Buddha, but, having practiced 3 years and there's no sign, nothing, and he was just walking out, and then he saw one of his neighbor gentlemen was, there's a big mountain in front of him, and he was trying to kind of, removing dust, and and what are you doing? He said, well, this mountain is blocking my sun, and I can't enjoy the sun. It's, I have to, smash it down. And then Asanga like, oh my God. I don't think he said my God. He said, oh wow. I don't know what the expression would be. And said that, well, well, I have to say, and this man is like doing this for, just temporary benefit, And not only that, smashing or carving down the mountain by, using his hands, and it's impossible, but he's still doing this. And I'm practicing Matthiya Buddha, and this is so, beneficial for myself and others, and I should do this. He was very encouraged. He went back, and then he practiced Matthiya Buddha another 3 years, and no signs once again. And because he was so focused on looking for signs, and then he really wants to leave. So he went out, and then he saw another person was, there's a big iron stick, and then he was using a feather and doing this. So what are you doing? I said, well, my clothes are, broken, or, and I have holes, and I have to patch it up. And I don't have needle, so I have to make this needle. And then once again, he was very encouraged. He went back, And then after another 3 years, and nothing happened, then he really left, Okay, no more Matthiya Buddha. And I'm, tired of it, And then on the way, he saw a female dog was really angry and barking at him, and meanwhile, her lower part of the body was injured, and a lot of worms or bugs on her body, and then immediately, Asanga had this immense, overwhelming compassion because even though this sentient being suffering so much still, angry and trying to protect herself, and then he really wants to help that dog. And if he moved those worms by his hands, and it could also hurt the insects, and he tried to use his tongue to move and with compassion, and so then he closed his eyes, trying to. All of a sudden, his tongue touched to the ground, and then he's like, "What happened?" And then he look up, and then Maitreya Buddha appeared, and because he was very desperate, tried to achieve or have vision of Maitreya Buddha. He just kind of hold Maitreya Buddha, said, "Why it took so long you to appear? And I was practicing you." And then Maitreya Buddha said, "No, the first day you visualize I was there. The moment you visualize I was there. The reason why you didn't see is because number one, you have a lot of negative karma to purify. Number two, you didn't have trust." And I said, "Yeah, all I saw, no, I didn't see you. All I see was the people who doing the, cutting down the mountains or just, needle." I said, "Oh, that was me. I just trying to teach you, And then Maitreya Buddha said, "If you don't trust, just carry me on your shoulder and walk around on street and ask people, what do if they can see me," which he did. And, "Do you see me anything?" Like, people are a little irritated because they don't see anything. Like, why this guy is, crazy? And then an elderly lady said, yeah, I see a dog, a dog on your shoulder. Elderly lady who had, less negative karma, able to see a dog, but he couldn't see Maitreya Buddha. So that's kind of illustration of that. When you have a conviction or trust in Buddha's wisdom and compassion, because if they don't, the moment you really visualize with devotion, if they don't appear, then they broke in their own samaya, because wherever sentient being is, I will help, and they don't have to travel. As I mentioned, it's a spontaneous. And then the other part is like visualizing the deity in a form of light, in essence, wisdom. That is so important. If you visualize so concrete and so real, and then you will be worried about, if you visualize White Tara and you never know, maybe one of her ornaments might fall, You have, how heavy she is. You have all those speculations could happen. And sometimes, especially it's the practice not combined with bodhicitta, you could practice in the, most highest tantric practice. Like recently, I have some people, friends, like, "Oh, I have a lot of anger and I have to practice Vajrakilaya or Mahakala, wrathful deities." And, I just said, well, that's good, but this practice doesn't really mean, or simply you visualize, you overcome your anger, or just if you don't like somebody using wrathful deity, it's actually not good. I think I recommend to practice meditation. That's how you calm mind. If you have those, I will practice Vajrakilaya, wrathful, it look like a little angry and like me, and is able to subdue. So, yeah, so visualization is very, very important. And with bodhicitta, and then as I've just mentioned, definition is a form of light, in essence, wisdom. That is how you visualize when you White Tara practice or whatever. And there's another story that happened with Chögyam Rinpoche. not the previous one, then previous one. So which means I think it's the seventh Tangurmuchi. So there was such a monastery. Those of you who went to Jeku, there's a Jeku monastery, a really big such a monastery on the top of the hill, and they practice the Jiji, the Yamintaka, which has manifested as like 9 heads of the like cows' heads look like. Of course, the detailed visualization has tremendous profundity of how you can overcome negative emotions, etc. So he was practicing that deity, and then one time, they invited Jaji Tongren Rinpoche go to that monastery, and so he was very, very proud. Okay, this is how I visualize. This is how but one thing bothers me, he said. One thing bothers me is that when I visualize, and my house is too small. So all the horns of the Yamitaka's horns, they has to go through the roof. I can hear the sound, like cracking sound, because he was, visualizing so solid and concrete. And then everything explained. He was so proud. He was like, and then Joji Tongren Rinpoche said, okay, so if that's the case, then you have to smash down by hammers when you dissolve, when you do the dissolution, And then when he heard that, the practitioner, he was a monk, he practiced many, many years, like kind of shocked. Oh, I did something, must be something wrong. So then he didn't want to ask any further questions or advices. He kind of, okay, that's it, So he kind of created his own visualization, not his own visualization, but he followed visualization, but his method was like everything so concrete, the weapons, and so that's why he feels that his roof has to have a hole, all this. Then he passed away. And when he passed away, and there's a near Tong Monastery, there's a river flows, through the town. And then many people see, even like day times, there's a monk, has a lot of beard, beard monk, is holding a long mala and Yamitaka mantra, almost like he transformed into a ghost. And people really feared going through that, because sometimes, like, sentient beings, they have different aspirations to become ghosts or spirits, and only could see like night times. But this individual was very, very powerful. Even daytimes people can see it. So they were very, very afraid. And then one day, Jebje Tongren Rinpoche, he was traveling to a nomadic place to do pujas, and on the way, when they're passing through that river, and then there was a rope, like long rope, and then he said, "Everybody stop it." And then he himself, how do you say, mount of the house or dismount? Mount the house? Dismount. Yeah, dismount. He dismounted the horse. He says, "Everybody, don't touch it." Then he, carefully, put this rope like this, like lasso, and then put on his horseback. And then they traveled the whole day. In the night time, they made a fire camp, and then Jaji Tongmichi said, they have the fire there, and please bring that rope that I collected. And so his attendant went there, and it turned into a grass. So he said, I told that, "Oh, Rinpoche, it turned into grass." He said, "Oh, that's okay, but make sure nothing is missing, carefully bring here." So they offered to him, and then he just, meditate, especially reciting the Akshobhya mantra and then burning this, grass rope, one by one. Finished. And then after that, there was no ghosts. Nothing happened. So the point here is that number one, the practice, how he practiced was so concrete. Because sometimes you may heard of this from other people asking questions. People talk about like, as long as something has to do with the weapons or something, they feel it's very hard to visualize. It's simply because you take it so real, because you are not able to visualize such. And so because Judge Tongru Rinpoche made a connection with that monk, and then through that connection, he tamed that ghost, and then, wherever the monk went. And so that's another story about, visualization. Because visualization, everything you visualize has to connect with our mind, and when you visualize yourself as a white Tara, and everything becomes emptiness. And in reality, even you don't visualize emptiness, we are in emptiness forever. We just have this kind of collected physical condition. This morning we had a wonderful breakfast. Oh, that's first comes. And then we had talk about, right, the scientific mind about Buddhism. And even like scientists talk about like the tables and everything materials that we see, they are inherently untouched particles. They are not touched when they analyze, because in Madhyamaka view, reasoning practice, you mentally analyze how the table kind of divide into particles, and then particles into because of emptiness. So even like scientists talk about, oh yeah, there's some kind of energy holding together, invisible energy holding together, but in reality, the dust is not attached. So inherently, as we practice, everything is emptiness in nature. Not only the formless mind, not only the conscious, which is always emptiness. Even like you can feel it, you can find it, but materials is emptiness. So everything becomes emptiness, and when we visualize everything become emptiness, sometimes the mantra talk about we are meditating as it is. What does that mean? As it's been that way. Buddha's teaching did not destroy, or mantra did not destroy. It's the way it is. And crawl. Yeah. I hope it's not that monk. I'm scared. Oh, it's gone. Tongru Rinpoche. Okay, now I'm lost. So with that, the third definition of visualization is pureness, or sacred outlook, or pureness. Remembering the pureness or pure perception. And so what does that mean? So all of this visualization has its own enlightened quality. And for example, like it says, when you visualize white Tara, like in a white color, like autumn moon color, and also there's like a jewel, like water glasses, very, very transparent, which has So another word, like all the visualization is not causal vehicle. It's the fruition. That's why we say the practice of tantric practice is direct resort or direct meditation or shortcut. It's because White Tara is fully overcome the two obscurations. That's why she's in white color. Why we visualize as white color. And because White Tara, when you visualize, she naturally, radiating the five lights, spontaneously without, external visualization of lights. It's simply because the five wisdom. And she has one face, represents one taste, Dhammakaya meditation. The one taste or Dhammakaya represents one face. And she has two arms, which means that she's neither abide in samsara nor nirvana, partial nirvana. Partial nirvana is like Patika Buddhas or Shavaka Buddhas, fully not enlightened. And then she has 7 eyes. It represents the 3 liberation gates, and then 4 immeasurables. So together, 7 eyes represents that. And then the right hand, you can see White Tara, beautiful White Tara Thangka there. She's doing the spring mudra. It's giving the generosity of Siddha. And then left hand, she's the thumb and ring fingers doing this, holding a upala. And which represents the method, the unity of method and wisdom, those two hands. And then 3 fingers extending represents 3 jewels. I'm basically using the commentary that some of you already have, like Khenpo Rinpoche's commentary. I just like to translate directly from Tibetan, because when I read English, then I struggle. Well, I should struggle. Maybe I should read English because I'm trying to learn English. That's the opposite, right? What can you do? But I'm just so used to Tibetan, and there's when I see it, it feels very easy to translate my own kind of version. And then because she is fully liberated, all the things that are abandoned, needs to abandon, obscurations abandoned, and everything to realize already fully awakened. That's why she is holding the flower upala, white upala. And her hair is burnt in one piece, and which means that everything, all the distractions, elaborations, everything dissolve into one single Dhammadhatu. Dhammadhatu is also part, the fully awakening of the object. And because she is the mother wisdom of which generates all the victors and Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and she never let any sentient being go through her compassion. That's why she's very elegant, and this is what happens when you don't use translation. There's one word there. Elegant and attractive. Attractive. And because she has all the qualities as a Buddha, and that's why she's adorned with silks and ornaments. And because, with the silk and ornaments, normally there are 8 ornaments which represents the 8 liberations, Namtraji. How would you say Nambatarbaji? So it's kind of not so commonly used, but I like to find on spot, right? Sometimes, that's my style. Everybody has style. That's mine. So no one can dispute. Nambatarbaji. So it's well, it has. I always like to use the Ranzan Yeshi translation. It emancipations, the emancipation of regarding what has form to be form, the emancipation of the regarding the formless as having form, the emancipation of the repulsive and clearing away hindrances, the 4 emancipations of the 4 formless states, and the emancipation of cessation. So this is what the 8 ornaments represent. And then this text doesn't describe, but the 5 silks also ornament, 5 silk that different colors she wear also represents 5 wisdom. And because she's always in Vajra like Samadhi, and she's always sitting straight and still without moving. And she's in Vajra posture simply because she's not conquered by, not able to, negative emotions, kleshas cannot conquer her, therefore she's sitting in Vajra posture. And then there's a little moon, she kind of lean in a backrest, represents she's fully developed or ripened all the undefiled bliss. And also says Amitabha's, it also represents Amitabha's family. She's the, Amitabha's, which is a lotus family. And then she's sitting on like a moon disk, which represents, the ultimate bodhicitta. And then she's below the moon disk, there's a lotus, which represents relative bodhicitta. Even though she's comes to samsara to liberate sentient beings, but she's not attached, defeated by samsaric conditions. Just like a lotus born in, grow in mud and cannot touch by mud. She's always, okay. So that is how you visualize white Tara. So what does this basically mean? So in this way, this called Jechu in Tibetan, Jechu means the fruition qualities, fruition elements, which means you are directly meditating on white Tara, who represents all the enlightened different qualities. And so instead of like, practicing, visualizing her, and then the deity is a little bit separate, you are inferior, and the white Tara is like superior, etc. But once you visualize, you have to have that confidence, Ngaja Temba, the stability of self-confidence that you are everything what we mentioned here, the Dhammakaya or the 8 qualities, everything is part of our own mind, our primordial wisdom. And so in this way, when you visualize any deity, whether it's a friend visualization or your self-visualization, and a form of white light, and in essence wisdom, and then once you visualize, once dissolve, it's very easy to dissolve because wisdom dissolve into wisdom. So once you visualize all of this, and then we comes down to page 15. Yesterday we did up to the first line. It says a full moon is her backdrop, and so then, at her forehead is a white Om, at her throat a red A, and slightly below her heart is a blue Hong. These 3 syllables represents 3 kayas, especially at in the center of her heart. Actually, it's your heart, right? Because you visualize. This is a self-visualization. The lotus in the moon disk is a white thumb, thumb syllable. It radiates light, inviting from her nature place the wisdom aspects of Tara, similar to the self-visualization, and then you say Beda Samanza. So you are, asking Tara to remain in her samaya, Vajra samaya, inviting Tara. So the moment you do this, then you think that the wisdom deity arrived, and before wisdom deity arrived, not dissolved yet. Wisdom deity, just like identical your own self-visualization in the sky, and then first you make offering. Then you offer the agam. I offer Vajra drinking water, bathing water, flower, the 8 offerings. And then on page 17, she melts invisibly into me. When we say za hong bong ho, so then you think the wisdom that dissolve into you become inseparable. And again, it says, light from the seed syllables invites the empowerment deities of the 5 families and their retinues, and that's basically 5 Buddhas and 5 female Buddhas inviting wisdom deities and give you empowerment. Before that, we just offer this once again 8 offerings, which completes on page 18, and then page 17 it says, "May all the Tathagatas empower me." So it's almost like enthrone a king, a prince, and once the prince invite and have a seat, and then the kings and others put their crown on and so you become the king. Likewise, it's once again the process has to do with our own delusion, removing our delusion, because we sometimes have this hard time to trust. So you invite, then all the empowerment process happening, and then all the 5 Buddhas, 5 female Buddhas says, now you are the real deal. You are the real white Tara. And then not only that, the 5 fathers respond as soon as the Buddha was born. Then they cleanse you. The deities offered him and ablution of pure celestial water. And the same way I bathe you with pure heavenly water. And then 5 mothers empower me with the water from their vases, and filling up my body in pure 5 stains, the excess overflows in the head of the family, and Amitabha become my crown ornament. So you think that the water flow up, and on top you as a white Tara, and then the water become Amitabha, who is the lord of the family, and then imagine that emanated goddesses make offerings. So after that, you become white Tara, and the next, session of the offering is to you by the goddesses. And they offer the 8 offerings, and then on page 22, not only they offer, but then also they lined up, and then they praise you by saying on page 22, third stanza, Devas and Asuras bow their crowns at your lotus feet. I pay homage and give praise to Mother Tara, who liberates from all poverty. And then after that, then mantra recitation. And in my heart, on a lotus and moon is a white wheel with 8 spokes and a rim on flat on a middle, on the lotus and moon disc, and top of that this white 8 spokes, and then in the center, thumb syllable, and then starting from the front, arranged clockwise around is Om Mama Ayu Pinjana Putin Kuru So Kuru Ha. Yeah, Kuru Ha. And then 8 spokes has on its 8 spokes are Ta Re Tu Ta Re Tu Re. So like a pearl, there's a kind of a standing, and normally when we visualize, the central visualization thumb is much bigger than the other mantras. And then page 24, the letters are luminous white like beads of pearl and do not move. They radiate lights, making offerings to the victorious ones, their offspring, and benefiting beings with increased longevity and other favors. The blessings of the noble one, the virtual, vital essence of the world and its beings. So this case, when you recite the mantra, first you have a when you recite the Tare, 2 Tare, wait a minute. So all of this basically is, strengthen if your life is like decreased or there's some obstacles. So that's why the visualization talk about benefiting beings with increased longevity and other favors. The blessing of the noble ones, the vital essence of the world and its beings, of samsara and nirvana, as well as all the siddhis are collected in the form of light and absorbed into the seed syllable and the mantra circle. They blaze with brilliance and majesty, bestowing the siddhi of immorality. And then while you are thinking like that, you visualize, you recite your Tare Tu Tare Ture Soha. So during this visualization, as we little bit focused on the clarity, the first quality about clarity, even you reached all the way to the full visualization, but while you are reciting, you can once again, refresh your visualization of your physical white Tara and also its own purities, why we visualize one face and 2 arms and what they represent, and why you recite Om Tare Tu Tare So. So normally we recite about, as a group practice, maybe 1 mala, and then Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Mama I Ping in the Putin Kursoa. So that is the first part of the visualization. You recite 1 mala of Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Soha. And so before you go to the Next month, Ram Tare Tu Tare Turi Mama Iping in the Putin Soha, and it's we have to. There's another visualization. Okay. There's also cycle of protection. We normally don't do that, and unless you are doing. Okay, then we jump to page 47 from page 25 after you finish recitation of Amtare Tu Tare Ture Soha, and then we jump to page 47, and as you remember, we visualized, this is particularly for our long life and removing obstacles of our long life. And through invoking page 47, did I say 27? 47, yeah. Long life practice, yeah. That's and through invoking the mind of Amitabha above my crown, and then nectar from the begging bowl in his hands hits and overflows, and entering through my crown, it fills my entire body, ensuring immorality. So then you actually recite the Am Tare Tu Tare Turi Mama Iping in the Putin Kuroso on page 25. So you normally we try to recite one mala. It's a little bit of long mantra, right? Well, if you want to have a long life, why not? Right? We want to, everything wants to quick, impatient about meditation. The defects of impatient means excited, then it's worn out, right? And then you have a lot of patience not to do the practice. So when people come to Mundu practice, I just can't wait to reach to the prostration. I say, just no, just slowly. No, I love to win. When they do prostration, they don't want to use any, I can't believe, just gone. They don't want to use any mats or nothing. So they just, you can hear the squeaky sound, right? Using the hand. I say, just be careful. And I said, no, I want to get the accumulation. I want to pure negative. Oh, I understand, but you have a lot of time. And then after a few months, it's so hard to do the practice because it's boring. You're doing same position again. And why I get bored. It's because you don't think about it for thoughts. That's the one we're missing. Even people told me that, every time you have Hundu practice, you emphasize a lot on impermanence. It's kind of a little bit boring. Then I said, well, this is the proof that you haven't practiced. Otherwise, you'd be so, oh yeah, that's impermanence, It's so true. Impermanence is real, doesn't wait us to get sick or die, it's just constantly changing. And so some people, especially if you get to do the practice in the morning, and then the whole day you have a sense of blessing, if the schedule allows. If you do the practice like before you go to bed, maybe you 8 a.m. Excuse me. If you do the practice after you come back from work, I think you will have a lot of unnecessary visualizations. What happened at work, what happened in all this, and right? So then when you visualize the deities, and there will be a lot of distraction. But morning is always good. Morning is your mind more clearer, especially like, you don't wait until you feel better, because morning sometimes a little bit hard, right? When you wake up and you don't want to wake up. I always when I wake up, I always like to. I don't wait. I just kind of forcefully get up. It's so refreshing. Because if you wait a little bit and then there are a lot of distractions could happen, especially you feel I'm so tired. And also people say that, oh, it's yeah, I really would like to do my daily practice, but I get so tired and then I don't have energy. I said, no, practice brings you energy, blessing. What are you talking about? Really, it's true. If you truly practice and invoke the deities and do prostration, it brings a lot of energy. But that energy is not negative. It brings a lot of positive energy, especially sincerely if you practice. So at the end, no excuses whatsoever. That's the bottom line. So I'm now lost again. So then you recite the page 25 on 32, 33, Mama opinion and Putingra. So you can also refresh about the mantra visualization. And then once you finish that, and then so once you finish that, then page 26, you're going to do the dissolution and self-visualization dissolution before you make a Toma offering. So on page 26, in the middle says, all apparent existence become the mandala of noble Tara, and which dissolves into the cycle of protection, and then sequentially, the outer world in myself as Tara dissolve into thumb and my heart, and then the thumb gradually dissolve from its lowest part upward, and I rest, and then disappears. You rest in that. Excuse me. You rest in that presence, dissolution. And Kemurumbuchi always used to emphasize that, when you, either you're doing self-visualization or, friend visualization, when they dissolve into you, everything dissolve into emptiness. And then he said, never judge that statement. That very moment you dissolve, that is Mahamudra. So never look for another feeling or whatever feeling at that very moment. The moment you dissolve in emptiness, then you rest. And that is, it was said, Mahamudra state. If you did correctly, dissolving. And then after you meditate, you re-arise. I arise again in the form of Noble Tara. Those three places are marked with Om Ahom. Ultimately, all the phenomena of sight, sounds, and so forth have no inherent nature, and that appears is illusion-like and utterly pure as the essential nature of the wisdom. So resting practice, post-meditation is so important. Once you re-arise, and then everything, what you see is, inherently emptiness, and everything what you hear, also emptiness, everything is emptiness. And so those practitioners, when we go to Tibet or Bhutan and other places, so many handprints, so many footprints, and it's all of these hand marks, what do you call it? Lines in your hand, everything painted like, So why is that? Why is that? Simply because these practitioners, good masters, see that, as it is, everything what you see become like invisible. the walls invisible, everything become invisible because that's what they are. The nature always been emptiness and invisible, but because of our fixation, it becomes so concrete. And Cameron, which used to talk about, there was monks who did 3 retreat, and sometimes they kind of goes out. Sometimes they meditate and experience it's very, very kind of strong, like invisibility, and especially the illusory body practice, and then they go through walls and then come back. How did they even come out? So everything happens simply because you see everything is illusory. Through why nothing else. This is it. And not only that, if you are practicing just only the prostration part of the practice with Ngundro, and when you visualize all these deities and also impermanence, everything, you can equally have those experiences. It doesn't have to really practice like wait all the way to Mahamudra or Mahaati or like very, very high tantric practice, because every visualization, every practice, even like Ngundro practice, carries its same quality. So it says that what appears is illusion-like and utterly pure as the essential nature of wisdom deities. So that each line carries so much blessing and so much message, especially about illusory. And then what? Okay, what if you could do that? If you could see everything, what's the benefit? The benefit is that you will not. You have less attachment to the to the world and everything. If somebody says you hear a sound, somebody criticize, you will not attach to that. It's just another. The moment you hear it, it's the beginning of dissolution. Same with the mind. The moment you experience the thoughts, that you can see. That's why the great masters they say, "I'm just so happy watching my mind." They are so overwhelmingly happy, but the happiness doesn't have a excitement or attachment. They're just so joyful, undefiled joy, simply because they can see this festivity of your mind, thoughts. Meanwhile, they doesn't bother them. So they just practice in caves, like or like dark retreat, And for us, like we just don't have that. But all of this come from not something like, they have to practice very high, like Tantrika Chakra Sambhara or Vajra Yoga. No, not at all. These are basic practice. And if your mind is matured, your mind has that devotion qualities, then every practice you do, it brings those qualities. Otherwise, you go to Vajra Yogini practice, Chakra Sambhara practice, and you recite those, end up you become a very arrogant person, Oh, I did Chakra Sambhara with the Chujan Tumba, I don't know. Oh, I did this practice with that. I really, but what did you bring? What's left in your mind is arrogant? Well, that's not good. So, so this is so then you realize as white Tara, and sometimes like you can refresh that during the practice, and then there's dedication on page 28. So generally we do also dedication as well. It says, by this virtue may I swiftly accomplish white Tara and establish all beings without exception on her level. And then we must do the Toma offering, Toma practice as a group practice, because now I basically focusing on simple form of group practice. And I did mention before I come here, I said I can make a white Tara Toma, which I didn't make it because I feel like this needs another ritual procedure. Toma making has to go all the ritual things. So Lama Lodro has to make those toma. She's also good toma maker. So it's her fault. Her job. No, I didn't say her fault. It's her job. I like to go simple way, say a lot of good things. So until she comes, I think, or else someone else, there are many other masters, custom, you have a wonderful two Kembos, and then Green Kora, we have many, Lama Pema and other monks, anybody could teach those rituals. The reason why I mentioned Lama Lod, because she's went few times and she's very, very precise. She has all the materials, because we need materials, right, to look at. And so until that, I would recommend that you have a little plate with the cookies, some cookies, and when you practice, the day you practice, I think it's very important to have some kind of white Tara statue image behind if you use this, maybe white Tara image behind. At KTD, I know this is like another process, not that easy. At KTD, whenever we have practice, and we set up shrine, and they constantly changing different images. If it's a medicine Buddha, we hang medicine Buddha. If it's a Kamapash, we hang Kamapash. So you have a beautiful white Tara over there. So it's a special, so should have behind this when we practice in the future. Not today. Today we just exercising, right? And then, so Toma is just simply, normally you visualize it says, everything becomes emptiness once again. I do need to go through the ritual procedure. Afternoon we just go quickly how we chant, where we do the Toma offering, and how to consecrate the Toma, where we do all of this. And then we do a short practice, and I think we will also have a little question and answer session as well. So right now 11:28. Should we stop 11:30? Right? So maybe it's a good place to stop, And I can talk fast also, right? I was. All right, so we will stop here, and we dedicate this morning made for the benefit of all sentient beings to achieve enlightenment of white Tara, and also for all beings free from suffering and cause of suffering. And by chanting the short dedication prayer. O sonam de danje zeba nye dane nye ba dana banje ne jega nanje balan druba siba zolen dro kanyo dro sho. Yeah, we used to chant Sib Solen Dro Adora Sho. So His Holiness said we should chant Sib Solen Droka Nyo Dro Sho. It's kind of very similar, but that's what he recommended. Simple soul and Droka New Doshu. All right, thank you. Thank you. See you at what time? 1 o'clock. Sharp.